So for farm accounting, when you hear they talk about analysis of a particular enterprise in the farm, they're asking you for details for that particular analysis, for that particular enterprise. For example, yesterday I said, if you have see a question that has a combination of all the enterprises in the farm, like the question we saw, we talk about the ask us, they give us data on the cattle, the milk, the sheep. So it means these are three different operation sectors operating in a single farm. So yesterday we made analysis on the cattle and milk. So today we are supposed to make analysis on the sheep enterprise. Why? Because when you are creating the general profit and loss account, you must look at those enterprises, their contribution to the general farm. So, but before we do that, we need to make adjustments because there were certain areas, like for example, the general expenditures. They said the general expenditures of the farm are 24,500, and they said this expenditure is shared equally. And we know that milk is under the cattle section, while sheep wool is under the sheep. So it basically means that the expenditure of the farm is divided 50% into two. That is for the cattle enterprise and for the sheep enterprise. So that is why you see the adjustment is like this. The cattle is 24,500 in 50% will give you 12,250, and also sheep will give you 12,250. So each enterprise is bearing the general expenses of the farm. Then we also need to look at adjustment. We also need to make adjustment on the basic payment scheme. Of course, we said basic payment scheme are a system in Europe where the government is a system of subsidies where the government support farm owners in Europe. So it shows that this farm received already 7,600 as government subsidies on basic payment scheme, and the government is still needs to add 900. When you see due, it means it still needs to come. So we need to put it together to know the total value of the basic payment scheme. So what we do that will give us 8,500. Now, this is the enterprise analysis account for sheep. I said the enterprise analysis account for sheep means we need to analyze the incomes and expenditure for the sheep enterprise in the farm. So when you look at it, it has analysis account of the sheep enterprise. What do we do? We need to put the incomes, the cost of sales, and the expenditure, like we did for cattle and milk. So the sales of sheep, which is an income, is 26,000. Sales of wool, of course, we know the wool is the back of the sheep, it's not wasted, it's still sold. So it has 6,780. When we put that together, it gives us the income of that enterprise. Then the cost of sales is the opening stock of sheep, the purchase of sheep, and the closing stock of sheep. Of course, what do? We need to take the opening stock plus the purchase of sheep and minus the closing stock, because the closing stock will serve as opening stock for next accounting year. So when you put this together and minus closing stock, it will give you this value, 14,900. What do? We need to know the gross profit. The gross profit is going to be the total income minus the cost of sales. So the gross profit is 17,880. But there is other expenditures that we need to minus, like the feed for the sheep and also this general expenditure. So we need to minus it. When you do that, when you put them together, it gives you 16,750. So it means the net profit for the sheep enterprise is 1,130, which is the farm contribution. It is the contribution for the farm in the department or in the section of sheep. Now, we need to create the general profit and loss account. The general profit and loss account is the contribution from the cattle and milk, contribution from sheep, and government subsidies, as well as other kind of income that comes into the farm. So when we look at the question, the sections where income came, contribution from milk, which we got 5,100, contribution from farm, which is what we are calculating here, is 1,130. Then the conakry is the farm agreement. The farm agreement between the lessee and the leaser. It gives us 1,920. Then the basic payment scheme, which is the government support that we saw here, we have to put it 7,600. We don't have to put the due. This due is only calculated as the future that it will come within the same year. But when we are making the general profit and loss, we are dealing with the exact what we got at hand. So here it means we are only going to take the basic payment scheme, which is 7,600. So when we put it together, it will give us 15,750. Now the expenditure, of course, we have already shared most of the expenditures in the different analysis. So the only expenditure we didn't share is the light and heat. It means the electricity bill of the farm, which is 5,400. So we minus it from here, it will give us the net profit for the farm. So it means 10,350 is the net profit for the entire farm. For cattle, for milk, for sheep, for wool, everything that happened to the farm for that operation year, the profit is 10,350. So that's what the question ends.